The world watched in astonishment as President Donald Trump unveiled his audacious plan to end the grueling Russia-Ukraine war. Trump, never one for subtlety, decided to forgo the usual diplomatic channels. Instead, he took it upon himself to orchestrate a peace agreement, seemingly sidelining Europe in the process. This bold move sent shockwaves through the international community, raising eyebrows from Brussels to Beijing. Trump's decision to exclude European powers from these initial peace talks was a calculated gamble. It was a clear signal that he believed he could broker a deal more effectively without the supposed bureaucratic baggage of the European Union. This move was vintage Trump brash, unconventional, and undeniably attention-grabbing. Critics were quick to point out the audacity of Trump's approach. They argued that excluding key European players, many of whom had been deeply involved in supporting Ukraine, risked undermining the entire peace process. Some even saw it as a deliberate attempt by Trump to drive a wedge between Europe and the United States, further fracturing the already strained transatlantic alliance. However, Trump, ever the showman, remained undeterred. He seemed convinced that his direct approach, particularly his willingness to engage directly with Vladimir Putin, held the key to unlocking a swift and decisive resolution to the conflict. Only time would tell if his gamble would pay off or backfire spectacularly. Trump's decision to hold the peace talks in Saudi Arabia, a country with its own controversial human rights record, only added fuel to the fire. He assembled a delegation of trusted advisors and seasoned negotiators to accompany him to Riyadh, each chosen for their specific expertise and experience. Leading the pack was Mike Pompeo, Trump's former Secretary of State, known for his hawkish stance on foreign policy and his close relationship with the former president. His presence signaled Trump's intention to negotiate from a position of strength, unwilling to make any concessions he deemed detrimental to American interests. Joining Pompeo was Steve Mnuchin, Trump's former Treasury Secretary, brought along for his financial acumen and his understanding of the intricate economic ties between Russia and the West. Mnuchin's role was crucial in exploring potential sanctions relief for Russia, a key bargaining chip in any peace deal. Rounding out the delegation was Rudy Giuliani, Trump's former personal lawyer, and a man who needs no introduction. Giuliani's presence raised more than a few eyebrows, with many questioning his qualifications and wondering what role he could possibly play in such delicate negotiations. However, those familiar with Trump's inner circle knew that Giuliani's loyalty and willingness to toe the line made him an indispensable asset in the former president's eyes. The reaction from Europe to Trump's surprise announcement was a mixture of disbelief and fury. European leaders, caught off guard by the former president's audacious move, felt betrayed and marginalized. They saw Trump's unilateral action as a direct affront to their interests, and a blatant disregard for their role in resolving a conflict that had significant implications for European security. French President Emmanuel Macron, never one to shy away from a challenge, took the lead in orchestrating a coordinated European response. He immediately called for an emergency summit in Paris, inviting key European leaders, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Annalena Baerbock, and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, to discuss the rapidly evolving situation. The atmosphere at the summit was tense. European leaders expressed deep concern about being excluded from the peace talks, fearing that Trump's deal could have disastrous consequences for European security. They worried that Trump, eager to secure a foreign policy victory, might be willing to make concessions to Putin that could embolden the Russian leader and destabilize the region further. Caught in the middle of this geopolitical tug-of-war was Ukraine itself. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, facing immense pressure from both sides, found himself in an unenviable position. He was wary of Trump's motives, acutely aware of the former president's past affinity for Putin and his transactional approach to foreign policy. Zelensky had good reason to be skeptical. He had borne witness to Trump's attempts to pressure him into digging up dirt on his political rivals, a scandal that had led to Trump's first impeachment. The Ukrainian president had no illusions about Trump's willingness to throw Ukraine under the bus if it served his interests. Zelensky made it clear that Ukraine would not be dictated to by outside powers. He insisted that any peace deal must respect Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, including the return of Crimea, which Russia had annexed in 2014. However, Zelensky's demands were met with skepticism by some in the West who viewed them as unrealistic and a potential obstacle to peace. Territorial disputes between nations have always been a complex and contentious issue. These conflicts often arise from historical claims, strategic interests, and the desire for resources. Over time, they can escalate, leading to prolonged tensions and sometimes even open conflict. In this scene, we'll delve into some of the most significant territorial tussles around the world, exploring their origins and the current state of affairs. In the delicate balance between security and sovereignty, nations often face tough choices. The quest for safety can sometimes infringe upon a country's independence. This ongoing struggle shapes international relations and domestic policies alike. Foreign aid and international agreements often come with strings attached. While these deals can bring much-needed resources and support, they may also limit a nation's autonomy. The fine print in these agreements can have long-lasting impacts on a country's future. Within the United States, there is an ongoing internal struggle. Political divisions, economic disparities, and social issues create a complex landscape. These internal challenges influence America's role on the global stage and its ability to project power and influence. The ripple effects of these dynamics extend far beyond any single nation. The global fallout from security decisions, international agreements, and internal struggles can alter the course of history. Understanding these interconnected issues is crucial for navigating the future.